So I'm very glad to meet here the comic author or graphic novel author.
Comic author is okay.
It's okay?
It's too snobbish, graphic novel author.
Okay.
Comic author is okay.
It's Mirka Andolfo, famous for example, the comic Unnatural, Mercy, or Sweet Paprika.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much that you find the time to share some talk about comics.
Thanks to you. Thanks
You are from Italy.
I'm from Italy, yes, from the north. I live in the north of Italy.
This year at Comic-Con, there are many authors from Italy.
Yeah.
You came as a group, or it's just a coincidence?
Me and Matteo Lolli come as a group. The other one are independent, separated. Yeah, exactly.
So this is your booth.
Exactly. That's why we are near, because there is one person taking care of us both for comic sketch art, and so.
How is it to be? For me, it's in some sense very new experience. I never been on comic
convention.
Yeah, because our channel has the mission to spread the comics between adult and people who don't know comics. So how it is for you as an author to be on convention like this?
This is my first time here in this convention, in this city, in Prague. Very excited to meet all the fans here, and in general I travel a lot to other conventions, especially in the US, and it's always a pleasure to come to meet the readers. That's the main focus of the convention for artists and creators, to meet people that support you, that enjoy your characters. That's the best.
To enjoy them, to enjoy your comics with them together, because the creation is more solitude. Stuff.
It's a very lonely work somehow, even if I work in a studio with other people, but it's still something very, how can I say, when you focus on the work, you feel alone somehow, and it's nice to see people enjoying the hard work.
And for me, if I should be honest, I must say that I know American comics, I know French comics, but my knowledge of Italian situation, of comic industry, of the authors, and especially how people in Italia see comics is completely unknown stuff.
In Italy we have a big tradition of local comics, like Bonelli, some independent comics, Panini does some independent creator-owned comics, and also Marvel and DC stuff. And then we also have Disney. In Italy we have a magazine, a Mickey Mouse magazine, that is completely done in Italy, so it's with Italian creators, and that's a big thing in Italy. And fans are very passionate also there, and there are many artists in Italy that works for Italy and also outside Italy, and very passionate fans.
And it is easy. It was easy, for example, for you to become a full-time.
Can you repeat?
Was it easy for you to become full-time illustrator, or someone who make money purely from comics industry?
I mean, it takes time, but everyone starts from somewhere. I started working as comic colorist, the people that just color. And then
the people who make the comics beautiful.
I think it's more of a teamwork. Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's a teamwork, I mean. And I started doing that especially for kids comics in Italy, also for Mickey Mouse magazine. And then some years later, I started doing my creator-owned stuff or my commissioned works for DC, for example. Because I separate, there is my creator-owned stuff like Sweet Paprika and the superhero commissioned works.
And your comics like Sweet Paprika or Unnatural, have you created those comics by yourself and then presented to the publisher, or?
They are born in Italy as Italian comics. Then the publishers present it to Image, for example, and that's how they started being published in the US. And since that, since I'm natural, I never stopped publishing also my creator own stuff in the US and in Europe. As here there is
in Czech there is Unnatural.
Unnatural, yeah.
I was wondering, you said that you started your career as a colorist, but it doesn't mean that you at home you already making ink or painting, or you really started as a colorist and then?
No, I started. If I understand the question, I started directly. I mean, I always wanted to draw. I was already passionate about drawing while I was doing a colorist. But then I started doing colorist because everyone around me was saying to me, you color very well. And for me it was easier to find job as colorist. And then after a while, I tried to make also my creator own stuff or just to draw comics for professional.
So have been inside of some community of people who like comics?
Yeah, I in Italy I did for a short time, to be honest. I did a comic school. In Italy we have a lot of comic school, like those courses. And there I found my first job as comic colorist.
Oh, I see. I was wondering, what was the biggest, or not the biggest, what was your influence in creating your own style? Because when I see, for example, Unnatural, I see the influence from American comics, but still I see like, I don't know if I say it well, but Italian comics seem to me very, very, very massive, very powerful. Like you can feel the characters and so on. So what was your influence in your
my style.
Drawing style?
I grew up reading a lot of manga and also Disney comics, and especially I'm very influenced by Witch comic. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
it's from
I
Disney.
never read it, but
it's a Disney comic called Witch that is completely done in Italy by Alessandro Barbucci, Barbara Canepa, and other creators. And that influenced me a lot because it's a perfect mixture between Disney and manga. And that's what influences me mostly.
Yeah, when you say now that you like manga, I can understand a little bit of why you are drawing like it.
And working for the American market, also the American comics started influencing my work, obviously.
How was the experience to start working for American market? Was it shaping you a lot? Was the forces from the American publishers, the demands from the American publishers was high, or you can continue your way as it was?
Do you mean if I do my comics?
I mean when you started to work with.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my English is terrible.
It's me that I'm tired.
No.
I'm very tired. No. And sometimes I don't understand so well English.
When you started to work with Americans, with American publishers and so on, was it different than working for Italian publishers?
Okay. No, it's almost the same, may I say, because until you have an editor and deadlines, that's it. But to be honest, I have the deadlines in the US for superhero comics are more shorter. In Italy, I had more time. That's also why I also full colored, full writing, full drawing my creator own stuff born in Italy, because I had plenty more time to do that. So yeah, for me the big difference is the deadline.
And do you prefer to work for Americans or for Italians, or it doesn't
both,
matter?
because I have I discovered a big market in the US, also for my creator own stuff from Italy. So I think both are great. Absolutely.
I had also one question. For example, Czech country is very small, and there are not, I think, not many people who work in comic. And many comics are created from the writer, the illustrator, the colorist is the same guy. Maybe a little bit similar, like in France.
Yeah.
Maybe in Italy it was similar.
It depends by the creator. Every creator is different. Has different. There are people that are not interested in color, and so it depends by the project.
And in America, it's quite typical that there are teams who work.
Yeah, but I think it's also related to the fact that it's a deadline. It's for the deadline. I mean, usually outside the US market, you have more time for the deadlines.
And how it is for you? Do you prefer to work all stuff by yourself? Or
Yeah. To be honest, yes. Not because I worked with amazing colorists and writers, but doing my creator own stuff in general, it's my vision. It's something that I enjoy to do easily. But I like both. I like to work with other creators a lot. I work with other creators often. So no, it's both interesting, even if they are different experience, are both interesting.
For me, it's quite. I couldn't imagine how it is difficult to start working on, for example, DC or Marvel comics, where there is a almost century, or I don't know, many years of development of the character, of the story, many ideas, and so on. How it was for you to start working, for example, or I think you work on Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I worked also on Wonder Woman. I started working in the US market by chance because I wasn't interested. I mean, not interested. As I told you, I was more focused on Disney and manga.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about American market. But then, thanks to the internet, I remember an American publisher editor found my work and told me, maybe why don't you try to do this American comic for me? And then I did it. It went well. It worked. And then after that publisher, that was Dynamite. I started having opportunities also on Vertigo. I did a short story on Vertigo. And then after that, I started working on DC Comics character. I worked on Bombshells for years. Bombshells, Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, Catwoman. And I also did something for Marvel. I worked on Miss Marvel. It's all something about the chances that the more you start to work, the more opportunities you have.
Yeah.
I didn't predict it, but somehow happened.
And did you need to study a lot in advance when you?
I think it's important. I mean, if you like comics, it becomes natural that you want to know how to do that. Especially if you like to tell stories. I also did that school in Italy about comics to study how to do narration and stuff. And I think doing comics is not just about you like to draw and that's it. Because a comic is very different from an illustration. You need to know the rules to deliver a story that can be understood by everyone, also without the text. It's first from the panels. You should do good job in doing the panels. The narration is very important in comics. So you need to study a little bit, not necessarily in schools, also alone, also observing the comics, because professional comics, well done, nothing is it's like randomized. Panels are not randomized. There is some kind of study. So I think it's important to study.
Yeah, I think comics is one of the hardest job to make money with. I couldn't understand how someone can draw so many things in so short time. So it's really incredible. I wanted to ask about Unnatural.
Yeah.
I was wondering where there are two things which I am curious about. Do you think comics is still a lot of men thing? I mean, do you understand what I mean?
Do you mean there are more men than women?
Yeah.
I think today a little less. There are many women creators in America. Stephanie Phillips, for example, a great writer, but also artists. Sara Pichelli, but also others I can think about now. But Luana Vecchio.
But I mean the atmosphere of the industry. I mean your story is about women's, even though she is a pig. Others, but it's about women's or about other people. It doesn't feel like men comic, like superhero comic.
Oh, it's just outside the superhero comics. But I think in America, especially with publishers like Image Comics, they don't do superhero stuff. When you go outside the Marvel, DC superhero stuff, you can tell any kind of story if you want, because there are publishers that give you this the freedom to create your own story, and when you create your own story, you can do whatever you like, until it's good. It's a good work, and for sure, Unnatural is not the classic American comic. I can understand that, especially when it came out years ago. It was kind of new, especially because of the animal characters. For example, in the US, people don't see so well American anthropomorphic character.
Really?
Because they associate the anthropomorphic to kids show.
Oh, I see.
So Unnatural is not for kids. So people
definitely not for kids.
Exactly. So people were a little bit, especially the first time, they were a little scared by that. But then the comic was a success, and I think also this uniqueness that was new for that kind of market helped somehow, because it was strange to see anthropomorphic character. I don't think it was the first time ever. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure, but it was not that used in the American market. I think that helped.
Yeah, I think Usagi Yojimbo is originally American comics.
Do you mean?
Usagi Yojimbo.
Yeah. There is
American.
that, for example.
Or I don't know if Black Set is popular in America.
Black Set, I have no idea, but in general it's difficult. Black Set is an amazing comic, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah, but for example, American, I don't think they are so used. Yes, there is a Usagi Yojimbo, but there are some exceptions. It's not that used to see anthropomorphic. Maybe now more, but 10 years ago was a little less common.
So you make a breakthrough.
No. I'm not saying that I'm the first. I said
you are the leader.
No. I said I'm not sure, but I think that may help.
Yeah, sure.
Because it was considered something different.
And the second question about Unnatural, which come to my mind, was where come the motivation? Because it's about minorities, about the position of people, about dictatorship and pressure. If it comes from your own personal frustration, for example, about, I don't know, homophobia or other stuff, or it is the recent situation in Italy, or?
Oh, I remember that time there was a family day in Italy. That it was this kind of strange day that was about the traditional family. So no gay couples, and obviously it was terrible. And it's funny because in Unnatural there is some sort of family day, and the characters are suffering for that kind of stuff. And I remember when I did that, the family day in Italy didn't happen yet. So I kinda saw the future, because there was this kind of atmosphere in Italy. And I think it's, Unnatural is about the discrimination, fight the discriminations, trying your true self, being yourself. For me, it's important in any of my comics, also in the other ones. It's always something I put in my stories. Even about other stuff. For example, in Mercy, that is not available here, but there is this kind of alien character that needs to find her home. And it's all about being accepted, finding your true self, especially with Paprika.
I think it's interesting how you combine the fantasy motifs in your comics, like horns.
Yeah.
With the pretty realistic things that everyone of us that can happen to everyone of us in our lives. Why you do you plan, for example, in future to draw purely realistic comics?
Do you mean realistic? Because I did the comics with the realistic characters, but it's never a realistic story. So I did the Mercy. The characters are humans, but there is some supernatural stuff.
I mean,
and
the mixture of the fantasy or supernatural with the real world.
Yeah.
Because the funny stuff is that when you open Unnatural, it's you think you will read animal story with fantasy things.
Yeah.
But in fact, after few pages, I felt like I read the stories from this world.
There is parallels. There is parallels. Sure. In general, I don't think I will never want to do a realistic story.
But do you like this?
I like to do, even if the characters are humans, I must put them in a fantasy world or in a supernatural story. It's my taste. I think real life it's boring and it's a little bit of magic. Even Sweet Paprika is set in a completely realistic world. I mean, she's not a devil like living in the hell. She's living on the earth, is like everything is normal, and she's a devil. So even if the story is completely human, the character is still a fantasy from fantasy world. So it's a mixture that I like to do.
And can I have last question about your activity with your Arancia studio? Because it's sorry.
No problem.
Arancia studio.
It's okay, also Arancia studio, no problem. That's the studio where I work for. The Arancia studio manage all my stuff, starting from my comics to anything, like a manager.
And this studio, what I understand, is not publisher, but you are
it's like
helping authors.
Yeah, exactly. For example, on my comics, they do the lettering. They create the graphic. They also work for example, for French market, and they create a team of artists every part of the job. So it's a studio that gives to publisher a team.
So we are creating comics which you provide to publishers?
Exactly. I mean, it's not my studio, just to be clear. I just work with them for them.
I thought you were a founder of the studio.
No, I'm not a founder.
You are not the founder. Okay.
I work as an art director sometimes, but I'm not a founder.
Okay. So, thank you very much.
No problem.
You are very kind to give us the interview.
Thank you.
I wish you the best with your future comics.
Thank you so much.